Well, greetings, world, and greetings, Seventh Spot. It's time for another virtual and socially distant Seventh. And it's exciting today because that beautiful sound of blatting noise that you just heard in the intro is the last bit of internal combustion engine sounds that you'll hear in this telecast, because we're going all electric. And we're going to bring in first two guests today. We've got Jagjeet Singh, who's in Malaysia, and I'm just going to say a very good morning to you, Jagjeet, and thank you so much for joining us today, because it's 7 p.m. here in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, and I think it's somewhere around 10 a.m.
Yes, it is. It's 10 a.m. on Easter Sunday.
Well, thank you for making the time.
Exactly. It's tomorrow, whereby you were still yesterday.
Yeah, and I got to say, I'm totally stoked for this opportunity, because we've been exploring in the world of Seven's electrical vehicles, and we've had a number of people joining our streams. Some people from Westfield demonstrating what they've got going on, and we're going to bring in Martin Coghill, who's now building a lithium cell 7 in California, and we'll get to him in just a bit. But you are doing something a little bit different. You are with Wheelspin Motorsport. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. That's okay. A company I created.
And what we've got going on in Malaysia is you've got. Well, I'm just going to. Can I go to that article that I showed you first, so we can just kind of review it? All right, I want to bring this into the stream, because this is pretty cool. I'm just going to go back to the page, and this is Nano.
Nano Malaysia.
Nano Malaysia, and what you are collaborating with them to produce a HyPER, which stands for, as I understand, hydrogen paired electric race car. And my understanding is, from the little I know about it, and I've seen different hydrogen celled vehicles, but they all require a tank. And with one typically with a hydrogen tank, and then a secondary tank, a nitrogen tank, to keep the anodes of nice and clean, because if they're not nice and clean, they'll degrade quickly. And then, as I understand, what you're working with is a vehicle that doesn't have this, because it has a hydrogen generator. Is that right?
Yeah, we call it an onboard hydrogen generator.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and I was asking you earlier, was it a passive hydrogen fuel cell system? Because I read a little bit about them, and you say no, it's not. It's just purely a hydrogen, or the generator is the only source. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, it's just a matter of mixing. What do you call it? Solid state hydrogen, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's just a powdered material that we mix it with, that we mix water with, and it produces hydrogen. That's it.
Wow.
So
and
it's difficult for anybody to understand. Sorry.
You use a capacitor as well?
Yes. The thing about this car, so I'll have to explain from the start, right? So it's basically a hybrid. It's called hydrogen paired electric race car. Well, because it is it was a race car anyway, or still is. So the thing is, so we have batteries. As with all electric cars, we do have a battery. This car used to run. When I bought it, it used to have a Nissan engine in it. So converted it to electric, and then we added on an ultra capacitor battery. So what the ultra capacitor battery does is, like, it's quick to charge,
yes,
and it also releases energy quickly. So I like to call it a sort of a electrical turbo boost when
Okay.
needed.
Yeah.
So
And it shows in this slide that I'm looking at right now. There is this this is it appears
yes,
to be.
that was our first version that we did at the launch. The photo you're looking at was at the launch. It was launched by the Minister of Science of Malaysia last November. But since
Yeah.
then, we have changed the design. This was like one of our first designs, so we keep
Earliest
changing it.
prototype. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll only get smaller and smaller until you don't see it anymore. It'll be
Yeah.
hidden away, tucked away somewhere.
And I'm going to a different slide now. I'm
Okay.
assuming that this is where the cell is. Is this correct?
Yes, yes, that's where the
Yeah.
hydrogen fuel cells are hidden. It's quite
Yeah.
messy, as you can see. We had
Yeah.
like we only finished the car. To be honest with you, we finished the car just like 1 hour before the launch.
Yeah.
Just for the minister to have a look, and thankfully nothing blew up. Everything worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then once that was done with, then we continue with R&D. Actually, R&D is still ongoing, so we are testing different fuel cells. Even the hydrogen fuel cells that we'll be using on the bikes, we
Uh-huh.
are actually testing them on the cars now, on this car
Wow.
now. So this car is a real workhorse.
It is now. If I was reading that correctly, it is it just purely electric or is it paired with a mechanical transmission?
No, okay. So okay, as far as the conversion goes,
Mm-hmm.
I what I did was okay. What we wanted to do in the beginning was
Mm-hmm.
we had a 50 kilowatt motor on hand, and that was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be mated to the Nissan transmission.
Yes.
And that was the idea. Then we thought about it. We did some tests. It is like we thought it's a bit too powerful because this car, being the showcase car, is going to be driven. But the minister himself drove it, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's going to be driven by people from the media, gas. I would love for students to drive them. For
Mm-hmm.
students to drive the car because I want them to learn about things like this. I'm targeting the young. It's the young that needs to pick up things like this, and not only towards an EV future, but also to keep our little beloved kit car, our Super 7 alive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something that they can build in their colleges and unis.
Yeah.
um yeah,
What?
so we decided to go with a lower powered motor. I
Mm-hmm.
purchased the one in the car now is
Mm-hmm.
only 20 kilowatts.
Yes.
20 kilowatts, but and it's mated directly to the axle, so there is no
Yes.
gearbox. I did away with the gearbox, so it's the propeller shaft goes directly into the motor,
Mm-hmm.
and the I forgot what the final drive was, or is
Mm-hmm.
rather. But on the dyno, I managed to get a top speed of about 70 miles an hour,
Yes.
which is not a problem. You see, I'm not aiming for top speed because this car is going to be used for once again showcase,
Mm-hmm.
autocross type events. You see, because when we take
Yeah,
this
that's
car
what I was
out,
wondering. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So when we take this car out around the country, we're not going to be
Mm-hmm.
showcasing it at racetracks where you drive at 100 miles an hour. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
be showcasing it in like maybe shopping mall car parks, or wherever it's smaller spaces where you only need to do like about probably 50 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so yeah, so that's more than enough. And when I did take it out to the track, I mean, a dyno is indoors, so there's no wind resistance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I got something like about 60 miles per hour, probably about there, which isn't a problem again for me. But the
Mm-hmm.
acceleration is still there. It accelerates. It pulls really well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like sticking an average. Okay, so torque wise, this motor produces 160 newton meters of torque.
Yes.
116 newton meters of torque is equivalent to probably a 1600 cc engine, right?
Wow. Okay.
If you're familiar with the Toyota 4AGE engine, the
Yes.
twin cam
Yeah.
engine, is a very famous engine that goes into these kit cars. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it has the same amount of torque, but without the gearbox, it's like sticking it into third gear and driving the car around, and it
Yeah.
pulls away fine. The car, I what came out of it, and what went in, as in what the ICE components that came out, the engine, gearbox,
Mm-hmm.
fuel tank, nothing much else I can think really. And what went in? The electric motor,
Hmm.
batteries, controller doesn't weigh anything. So I would say that it's about the same weight, which is about just over 500 kilos, and
Hmm.
20 kilowatts of power in something that weighs 550 kilos. Yeah, it still pulls nicely. Well, I was impressed. Well, I've got faster cars obviously, and but I love this one because it's so smooth. It just like you get into the car. I should do a walk around video. I will do a walk around video one day,
Yeah,
and
we'd love that. We would absolutely
yeah,
love that. Yeah, but
just
it's just it's
correct.
fabulous just to find out what the technology is, though, because it's so
Yes, it's
different from typically in what we do see, just the lithium battery cells.
correct.
It's different. But you must get in with that little cell there. What type of range would you have?
Okay, so these cells, you see three there. The only one is working. This is during the launch again, so the other two are just
Hmm.
there for sure. Uh, each tank, those very unfinished tanks, each tank will extend. We go by hours. So based on what we have in the car, which is we have 10 kilowatt batteries. So based
Hmm.
on what we have on the car, 10 kilowatt hours. Sorry, I should mention that. What's so based on what's in the car, each tank will give us 2 hours extra range. We go
Okay.
by hours. Yeah. So 2 hours could mean it could mean 10 kilometers, it could mean 100 kilometers. So it depends on how you drive the car, really. But it's meant to last for 2 hours.
Hmm.
So the idea is
Wow.
to have four, and it lasts us 4 hours. So we have 4 hours charging time.
Wow.
Whether or not the car is stationary or running, we'll have 4 hours of charging time for this
Very, very
particular car.
cool.
Yeah, so we
Wow.
can actually upscale it, or we can downscale it. The downscale it for the bikes, upscale it for future use in heavy vehicles, trucks, and stuff like that.
Well, I would think, yeah, this is a great way to prototype, but obviously, I mean, this type of technology can be used is better used in something larger, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you where this came from. This little technology was actually used. So a Malaysian scientist
Hmm.
developed this to power his drones.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so he,
It's
he owns a
drone.
drone company. Yeah, drone.
Yeah.
So he's a scientist who's worked with NASA and stuff like that. And so he built drones
Hmm.
for mapping, and also for agricultural use, for spraying of crops and stuff like that. So while it flies on, it uses hydrogen fuel cell. Oh, okay, Martin's back.
I no, keep on. I'm just bringing in Martin because I thought maybe he might have something he'd like to
All right.
add to the conversation.
Okay. So how this drones flies. So they use hydrogen fuel cells,
Hmm.
but there are tanks attached to them. So these tanks are quite heavy, and they also run out of juice, if you will, run out of gas. So what he did
Yeah.
was he created the same system,
Hmm.
a much smaller version, and he attached it to his drones, and they flew for much longer. And all he needed to do to replenish the gas was to add water and a little powder, as we do in the car.
Hmm.
Then so he approached the Ministry of Science, and he told them, like, I have this, but I think I can scale it up.
Hmm.
At the same time, the Ministry of Science was working with me on another project, which is biofuel, because before this electric thing came up, I was actually heavily into promoting the use of biofuels in motorsport,
Hmm.
like in bioethanol and biodiesel and stuff. And then,
Hmm.
so they asked me if I would be interested to try this, and like, yeah, sure, why not? So it took, like, I mean, we started all this just before COVID.
Hmm.
uh, we did our tests and everything. Then COVID hit, and we couldn't see each other, and we couldn't work. You know how all that happened. And
The
then
whole world shut down.
yeah, exactly, a whole world shut down. We couldn't do anything. Even in Malaysia, we couldn't. We were all stuck at home. And so by the time we were able to go out and get working again, it was
Hmm.
already very close to launch date. But we did get something working.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we got the car launched. The minister was very happy, and Well, funding comes from the Ministry of Science, so as long as they're happy, we are happy.
Wow,
And
that sounds great. I'll tell you one
yeah,
thing. If you next time you're out and you want to do something with autocross, and you happen to have a bit of video, boy, please send it our way. We would just
yeah.
love
Well,
it.
the thing, why people always ask me why did I choose autocross, because I'm an organizer, so I organize autocross over here. It's probably you're familiar with Gymkhana, so it's the same thing. It's Gymkhana, autocross. I think in the
Hmm.
UK it's called auto slalom. Yeah,
Yep.
so I actually managed our Malaysian team. We travel overseas to events,
Hmm.
and you're familiar with the FIA, I'm sure. So
Yes.
the FIA, they're going to have the second World Games in October this year, and for the auto slalom category, they'll be using electric cars. So
Okay.
it only goes to show that for this category of racing, even FIA is thinking about going electric. So why wouldn't I? Right. So I'm
Yep.
promoting the same thing.
Yep.
I'm heading down that path, and I might as well, since I have my own electric car, and the difference is that I've got added on components such as hydrogen and even the uh, ultra capacitors. So I'm just kind of like happily doing my R&D stuff, and if it works, then it's all good. Even if it doesn't, we have nothing to lose because
That's absolutely right. Well, it's the
yeah,
beauty of motorsport. You prototype and you test.
correct.
Away you
It's the
go.
best form. It's the best way to R&D, because if you think about it, everything that's tested before it reaches road cars is always done on in motorsport cars. So
That's the reason why we do it.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to say thank you, Jagjeet. This is the what can I say? We you joined Seven Spot. I happened to see that really cute little car, and I said, "What's that?" And you responded,
yeah,
and thank you so much. I'm going
you're
to call
welcome.
you back. I'm going to see if I can get David and you together. I think that would make an interesting chat.
Yeah, I'll hang around.
And yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bring in Martin now, if that's all right with you. And
All
I'm
right.
going to see if I can close
Well,
down that
Jim, can you hear me
article.
okay?
I can hear you fine. What did you think of that, Martin?
That's pretty cool. I just want to, I think I missed the very start, but Jagjeet is if you work forward from the axle, so you have an electric motor and then presumably hydrogen fuel cell that powers the motor, and then you have this some proprietary technology that generates the hydrogen with water and I think a powder you mentioned. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, just to correct you, so the hydrogen fuel cell does not power the motor; it recharges the battery,
Oh, so
or the
it's got a
batteries
battery
rather.
on board.
Yeah,
And
but the
the battery is that the supercapacitor that you're talking about, or do you use
both.
lithium cells? Okay, you use
But
both.
so
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, we do not need to use large batteries because we have the hydrogen fuel cells. So the
Hmm.
batteries are relatively small. They are only 10 kilowatt hour. I
Yeah.
have two batteries, which they're not even 10 actually. 4.8 each, 4.8 kilowatt hour each. So
Hmm.
on a regular car of this weight, I guess you would get like about 50, 60 kilometers out of it. Uh, and when you add on the fuel cells and what we're doing, you would add like about um, we'll get a total of like about 250 kilometers out of it. So
Hmm.
that's a
So you run
huge difference
the
actually.
so you run the fuel cell while you're driving. So it's charging up the
Yes,
battery and then you
yes, yeah.
okay,
You
cool.
can run it while you're driving, or when you're parked somewhere. If you don't have a charger, you have nowhere to plug in a charger. So
Yeah.
if you drive the car to, I don't know, a shopping mall or something that doesn't have a charging station, and you just leave the fuel cell on and it charges while you go and do your shopping or have your lunch or whatever.
And what kind of
That's
power
amazing.
output does the fuel cell have?
Sorry, Martin, could you repeat that?
What kind of power output does the fuel cell have? Is it a couple of kilowatts?
Okay, so we tested 10 kilowatts, which is the output of the battery, which means one-to-one charging. Uh, that works fine, and then we can also go smaller, obviously. So what we have on the car now are the smaller 1 kilowatt fuel cells. These are actually meant to go into our bikes. We do have a couple of bikes as well. So the smaller the fuel cell, the longer it'll take to charge. That's about it. But it will still charge.
Yep, very good.
Pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's convenient. Well, in the motorsports world, it's just convenient.
Well, and just like I've talked to so many people who use their electric vehicles competitively, and then it's recharging after an event or between events, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
You're scrambling to find a
And
charging
smaller
station where you're.
batteries mean less weight. Smaller batteries mean less weight. That's what
Yeah.
we're after. So all these translate to road cars as well, which is why I am also. You see, in Malaysia, up until now, our government has not allowed any self-converted ICE to EV projects. They haven't allowed it. But now, after thanks to HyPER, actually, after the minister saw the car and I explained to him how we removed the engine and we put in electric kit and everything looks fine. And the car is actually better now than what it was when it was running an engine, cleaner and less maintenance and stuff. So they put me on a task force to look into allowing ICE to EV conversions in Malaysia. So we're working on that now. And hopefully by next year, we should approve cars, meaning people like myself, or like us rather, DIY. We like to convert our cars from ICE to electric. So as long as it's done according to strict rules and safety regulations, it will be out there. So meaning these electric kits, and even for those who can afford it, if they want to have hydrogen fuel cells in their cars, they can.
Wow, it's a completely different approach to the hydrogen cell. I mean, we were looking at these monstrously huge hydrogen tanks. It's how the heck are you going to fit that in a 7?
Yeah, if you're thinking like about like the Toyota Mirai and whatever else is out there, the Honda, I can't remember what Clarity or something it's called, a Honda. Yes, yeah. Exactly. So huge tanks, 700 bar of pressure. That's the last thing you want. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate all that. I mean, we have already done it successfully.
And because it's a liquid, it can just permeate right through the fuel cell. It's just like, it's amazing.
Exactly. And so what you'll need to do to top up your charging station, your onboard charging station, if you will, is just that we will eventually, so we will sell this little powder thing in its powder form in sachets. And you just get water from wherever, from your kitchen faucet, or I don't know, you could drive into a fuel station but not ask for fuel, ask for water.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the fuel cell, is there any contamination from? I mean, it's a chemical process. Is there any deterioration of the fuel cell?
So far we've been testing for 2 years. We haven't seen anything yet. The only damage that's come from the fuel cells were from human error. I personally blew up a fuel cell myself, but that's my fault.
Because my understanding is they're platinum based, and I for some reason I've read something that they can be a little sensitive to.
You're right.
Yeah.
To water and vapor and all that. Yes, it can be. But then again, let's not forget that they produce, or rather they emissions wise for a fuel cell is also water and vapor. So I guess it kind of like it's like cancels itself out or something. I mean, for lack of a better word.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation. My mind is just going round and round and round. This is wonderful stuff.
Yeah. It sounds complicated until you do it. I mean, it's the same for me. I'm not a rocket scientist, but because I partnered with a rocket scientist and I took interest into all this, I learned. So then I can tell you, a lot of people, as far as ICE to EV conversion is concerned, there are a lot of naysayers out there. I mean, it's okay if everybody has their own opinion, but with regards to people saying that it's difficult, and I don't know, some mechanics probably they'll say no, you cannot do this, or sorry, not that you cannot do this. It's difficult to do. It's a lot of work and all that. It's not. It's very simple. If you have basic mechanical knowledge, ICE to EV conversion is chicken feed actually. It's simple. I converted my car. I mean, I bought the kit my kit came complete with wiring and with the throttle and everything and all. It's just a basically plug and play kit. It only took me 1 day to install it in the car. The second day was just spent mating the propeller shaft to the motor. That's it. So in 2 days I got my car running.
Wow,
Yes,
that's amazing.
That's because our sevens are so simple. They're kit cars. They're meant to take anything, any form of power or drivetrain. So that's the beauty of the sevens again.
Yeah, we
Need to
we
get you
do
jump
love
on
them.
a plane, come help me.
Yeah, jump on a plane and come over to California. He wants to rip out his lithium cells and put in a hydrogen cell.
Now, keep those batteries, keep these batteries, but you don't need huge batteries. That's all I'm saying. You don't need the whole car doesn't have to be a battery, and it
Well-
also depends on usage.
Well, why don't we just jump in at this particular point? Martin, I'm going to put you to the side of the screen along with Jagjeet, and I'm going to just play your slide screen that you sent me, just so that we can get an update on what you are doing now. And please, maybe the two of you can just comment on where you're at right now. Last time we chatted, you were just kind of in the initial stage, and isn't that wonderful? Cyber 7 art by Martin Coghill, just like amazing. So there's the 7 frame that everybody is familiar with, and Jagjeet, you know that one well. And that's where maybe you can just jump in here, Martin. What are we looking at this particular point? Is this where we had left you last time?
No, I was a little further on than this, but this was not that long ago actually, where I'd kind of finished up the 99% of the chassis and painted it up, and then started to panel it out, just like you would with any other home built 7, and getting ready for. Let's see the next couple of photographs where I start to install the batteries.
Yeah, I'm just getting to that point right there. You get your hoop on there, and because that's because you're doing autocross, and you've got the bottom layered out in there. Tell me about these speed holes, Martin.
Yeah, so these holes are. I have a kind of purpose-built jack system that comes up through those holes in the base to. You set the battery modules on that jack, and then it lowers down into the frame of the car. So at any time in the future, if I ever needed to swap out the battery modules, I can do that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was wondering if they were just, what they were there for. And of course, I did happen. There's your battery right there.
Yeah, you can see the lifting frame from the battery is those green lifting arms. They kind of get in the way of the chassis, so I had to lower it from underneath. So.
Because you put that right down in the tunnel, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, you should see that in the next image.
Yeah. Wow. How much does that weigh, Martin?
The total weight is, I wrote it down here somewhere. So that particular module is 141 pounds, and the whole pack is 308 pounds.
I see.
So not too bad.
And there you are lowering it into the tunnel.
That's right. Yeah, and the jack that I built comes up through the floor.
Yeah, I've got a picture of that one in there. I've been snooping your Facebook page and stealing all the good stuff.
Yeah, there you go. If I had, if there was 2 of us in the garage, we would just pick these things up by hand and lower them in. But it's just me myself. Yeah.
And this is the typical question that everybody asks: how much do you expect that this will all weigh? And this is directly from your Facebook page. And 1,400 pounds is what you're looking at, right?
I think I'm being on the high end there, but we'll see what it comes in at. But between the Mazda MX-5 build car, the components that you'd essentially remove from the ICE version, I think the electric came in at like 40 pounds heavier, something like that.
Yeah. And here's the support members you're talking about for lowering the.
I think that's a motorcycle jack, and then I made the little arms to reach up inside.
Beauty. There they are.
There they are.
As I say,
looks very professional, which is good.
He does a good job. I think he might be an engineer.
Yes.
I'm a civil engineer, which it didn't do any welding in civil engineering school, but
and there's the
Well, Martin,
wiring.
Martin, I always tell people I'm not an engineer, but I'm a near engine.
oh yeah,
And here's
yeah. So
the
that's
wiring mess. Oh,
yeah, and it still is a wiring mess. I actually stopped at this point in terms of wiring, and I can show you live where I'm at right now.
hang on a sec. I'm just going to continue this slide, and then I'll turn around, and you can just show us exactly. Now, this is the you've got the a cooling. Well, you got your radiator of sorts. How do you cool these cells?
Yeah, so there's really there's two radiators there. They're about 12 inches square. One of them will be dedicated for the motor and keeping the
Mm-hmm.
inverter cool, and then the
Yep.
other one will be dedicated to the battery pack and
Yep.
the charger for
And what do you
charging the
use for
battery pack.
coolant?
So coolant is just like regular automotive coolant. I forget the actual type that it is, but it's one of the modern automotive
Yep.
coolants.
Just dumb questions that linger in my head.
No, it's good. It's a good question. And the battery modules, they came out of they're a General Motors product out of the Chevrolet Bolt, or I think in Europe it's the Ampera
Yeah.
by Vauxhall,
Mm-hmm.
and they're already pre-plumbed, so you can see the inlet and outlet for the coolant
Mm-hmm.
pathways for the
And did
batteries.
you get these out of smashed vehicles, or how did you come by
Yeah,
these? Or yeah,
yeah, that was
and what kind
from a
of
wreck.
service life is left in them by the time they reach you? Do you know?
Yeah, so I got them from a wrecked vehicle that had something like 17,000 miles on it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so they should be fine, hopefully. But they're
yeah,
relatively inexpensive. This is me trying to fit the steering column in there. I've
yeah.
elected to go for electric power steering from a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
Just my experiences on track. It
Just
gets a bit
makes
of
it
a
nice
tough
and
day on
easy, and you can
on the
adjust it. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, there's a resistance can go from 0 to 100% support.
This
You
is the
spotted
shot I
my
like, Martin.
yeah, you spotted my size 12 there.
Could
Smart.
you
Actually,
explain yourself on that one, please?
yeah, I was just trying to get the height of the brake pedal right, because there's a tight fit with the master cylinder reservoirs to the curvature of the what will be the hood, and
Yeah.
so I wanted to get the just the perfect spot in the ball of my foot to get the braking force properly.
And
Um,
I think you explained to me that you were tired of climbing in and out and in and out, so
yeah,
you permanently
so
attached your shoe.
that's right. Yeah,
Perfect.
seems like
That's
seems like
engineering
sense at the time.
101.
That's right.
And of course, new skills. You've got a bead roller.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a pretty decent machine actually. It's relatively inexpensive, but yeah, it seems like a bit of fun. I'll be bead rolling a couple of these panels, probably the lid of the battery modules here.
Yeah, it's great fun. I can tell you from my own experience, it can take you down a rabbit hole. You'll be bead rolling everything.
Yeah,
I'm going to take that out now. I'm going to put you in. I'm going to put you on a feature screen here, if I
yeah,
can. Yeah, and solo layout, and so you can just tell us what's going on now.
yeah. So maybe let's see if we can see this. Yeah, so I've started at the stage where I'm fixing up the mounting points for the power steering unit and the
Yes.
steering column, and then as you saw, we're adding my shoe before getting
Yep.
the brake pedal fitted in here.
Mm-hmm.
So the battery modules are going to be are totally incorporated into the chassis, and there'll be
Yeah.
paneling that goes along in here for this main
Mm-hmm.
long central module, and then these two modules together in this one box. And the reason I stopped with the wiring and everything was I realized that the steering shaft is going to penetrate through the top of this box. So I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get that all finished and positioned correctly before I completely box this in. But there'll be a couple of water pumps that go down in here, one for the inverter and then one for the battery pack.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything will pass through to the back. I'll have plenty of space here for handbrake. And then the tiny little Tesla motor is sitting down in the back here.
Yeah.
And that'll go into the rear, and it's a direct drive from the reduction gearbox straight there. So, yeah.
It's coming along.
Yeah, it's coming along, and I'm just making sure it fits me comfortably, making sure that it's going to be a fun drive.
Yep, and the passenger side, I don't think there's really going to be room for a seat on the passenger side, or is there with that wide tunnel that you got?
Absolutely. That's one of the main objectives. I would have built the car differently if it was just there wasn't going to be a passenger. But this is just there's just some junk sitting here.
Oh, there is enough room. That's great.
Oh yeah,
that's
full
fabulous.
Size. Full size in terms of actually pretty wide passenger compartment in terms of.
Wow. I congratulate you. It's going to be great.
And the whole idea is to scare the what out of my passengers when this thing gets here.
It's always fun, isn't it, Jagjeet?
Yes, it is actually. Especially when you're making power turns, they don't expect that because it's so silent.
Yeah.
So this is
all the sound of shredded rubber.
Yeah, because you don't rev up and dump the clutch. You just turn the wheel and put your foot down, and that's it. They're facing the other direction.
Yeah. And all they smell is smoke, and all you hear is screaming.
Yeah. This is an 18 kilowatt hour battery pack, so I'm hoping for about 50 miles of range. That battery pack powered the Chevy Volt for 50 miles. So
what's the power output of the motor?
The
power output of the motor.
So it's a 220 kilowatt, about 300 horsepower.
Oh, that's a lot. That's very powerful.
Yeah, I've got 10-inch wide rims for the rear. Hopefully, try to keep the traction down on the road.
Yeah,
but that car will fly.
Yeah. I might need some tractor weights in the front to stop it pulling wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you have the shoe there on standby, because you're gonna have a heavy foot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I actually have there is actually talking about ballast and stuff, there is a lot of room underneath my my steering here that if I do need some ballast, I could add some towards the front there. So I think it will be a little rear heavy.
Yeah. But, I wonder what Colin would say now if he were here to listen to someone adding to the conversation that they wanted to add ballast.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's going against what my T-shirt says, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, simplify and add lightness.
And lightness, yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting. The technology has changed and the engineering has changed. You can overcome the laws of gravity, and just through physics, just all those screaming electrons just wanting to be released.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is awesome. I'm going to put all of us back together in here. And Martin, what can I say? Thanks again. So let's see if I can do this properly. There we go. So I'm going to say, Jagjeet, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us. This is absolutely fabulous.
You're welcome.
I got to say, I am really, really not only impressed, I'm so intrigued, because the whole idea of adding range, that's really what it's all about. It's just like there's no range. Yeah. But what you've got going there is potentially it's the solution, that everybody's been looking for. And
well, we hope so. Yeah, that's the aim.
Yeah. And Martin, keep on trucking, man. That's great. Keep on working at it. How long have you been at that project, by the way?
Too long. It's been 2 years. 2 years when I started, but I've been really done very little in terms of hours towards it. I've got a young family, so usually family activities, and there's some DIY stuff around the house I've been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Try not to make it like a stressful, must complete by a certain time project. I kind of enjoy picking up and taking on little pieces, figuring,
Well,
steering,
and being the fact that you have built one previously, and about how you can get caught well, at least in my case, I got caught in the doldrums of not quite getting there, and just it very nearly escaped to the island of lost toys. So just
I've
being
been
able to keep at it. Yeah, we've all been there. So guys, I'm going to say thanks. And what can I say from 7 Spot? We'll do it again. Jagjeet, if we can do a walk around sometime with you, that'd be fabulous.
I'll keep you updated because my project is ongoing. So there's always going to be changes, upgrades, and until the car breaks into two pieces. So I'll keep on going.
Yeah. Well, they always break. Mine's broken right now.
And then we fix them
Honestly,
and we get them. Yeah, the
that's
whole
right.
idea is to fix them.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to say, Jagjeet, thank you so much. Martin, as always, thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks again.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, Martin.
Bye now.
Bye.